Welcome to worship this morning at Inlet United. We're glad you're here, and welcome to those of you who are joining us by Zoom as well. We are grateful to be able to be here this morning on this beautiful sunny day, in person and virtually. Let's begin with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral, unceded, and unrelinquished homelands of the Coquitlam, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, the Squamish, the Kwantlen, the Kakite, and the Stolo peoples. And we offer our gratitude and appreciation for the opportunity to worship and work on this land. What holds us back from the courage to make a move? Author Robert Grudin said, "Creativity is dangerous. Its pleasure is not the comfort of the safe harbor, but the thrill of the reaching sail." Sometimes what holds us back is that we are comfortable, even if not happy. We have simply gotten used to the way things are. Hear the good news. God has created an ever-expanding universe, and you are part of it. You can expand your world and the world around you by seeing yourself as God sees you, able to do far more than you can imagine. If you are uncomfortable, it just means you're growing. That's a good thing. Risks in life create more good in the world. The kind of risks that God likes to see us taking are the ones that help us to grow. We don't even have to lose a part of ourselves in order to do that, in order to expand who we are or to create something beautiful to share with the world. And so there's a slide that has some words. We make our belief that God is playing and creating through people in all places, and God plays and creates with us too. So let all God's children say, thanks be to God. The next slide. We're back. We're in Matthew. We've been in the book of Luke for a couple of weeks now, and we're in the book of Matthew. And what's happening here is we're only getting part of what's called a pericope. A pericope is a complete set, like a thought, a story, a complete set of verses that make sense. And we don't have that today. We have a piece of a pericope. Let's say that 3 times fast. And what we're missing here is what happened to the first 2 servants in the story. So you'll have to go back and read that if you want to. But the people that put together the theme of risk and talent decided that we only needed this little piece of it. So we've got a piece of a pericope. What happens is the first 2 servants or slaves in the story do what they're supposed to do. They take the money, they amplify it, they expand it, and this third person did not. So we'll get to that, the rest of that in a minute. To set the context for this piece a little bit, this takes place toward the end of Jesus' formal ministry in the book of Matthew. Jesus ends this formal ministry piece with 3 different parables, 3 different teachings. And this is the last bit of the 3rd teaching that we're seeing today. So there are 2 other parables that come before this parable, and this is not a complete one. What is a parable? But a parable is a teaching tool that was very, very popular at the time that Jesus made it popular, but it was around before Jesus. It is a format of teaching where you take a story, and on the surface, the story looks very simple. And you can take it literally, you can take it on the surface, and you can get a nice little moral story about it. But one of the commentators that I was reading this week talked about a parable being like a miniature gymnasium for the mind, where you work a little bit at the hope of glimpsing something a little bit more, of getting something more, of stretching, of growing, of learning something deeper. So a parable might look nice on the surface, but it's not always as it first seems. And the point of all that is that this was not a literal master with 3 servants. This was a story Jesus was telling to make a point. So, another thing we should know about is the word talent. The word talent in the day meant mega abundance, lots and lots of money. It actually referred to about 15 or 20 years of salary. Can you just imagine that for a moment? 15 or 20 years of a typical salary. That's a lot of money. So a talent was a vast amount of money. Now, so this third person, who unfortunately did not do what he was supposed to do, actually made a literal deposit of the talent or the money by digging a hole and burying it in the ground. That's interesting. This passage is often used to talk about stewardship and talk about money, and that makes sense. But I'm thinking that we should talk about talent instead. And I mean talent in the more modern sense. Talent as gift, as ability, as skill, as your spiritual, natural ability. That's what I would like to talk about. What have you buried? Maybe out of fear. Maybe out of keeping it just to yourself and keeping it safe. Maybe because you were afraid that someone might be disappointed, that you might disappoint yourself, that it wouldn't be good enough, whatever that happens to be. What special natural ability do you have that you're hiding in the ground that could be shared and could be used to the good of the world? Right? That's a question. God is calling us into this life of faith, which is kind of risky. God is calling us into this life of faith to be co-creators with the divine. We are not supposed to hide our light under a bushel, right? We all have light within us to shine, and we're supposed to share that and amplify that. What can we do as Inlet United to share that light, to amplify joy, to co-create together? We're already doing it. How can we do it more is the question. And as we do this, as we step into the invitation that God is calling us into, we can know that God is always with us. We can trust that we are never alone, that we are being held in love with a capital L. Breathe in slowly and let your breath out slowly. And in again and out. Try to imagine that your stresses, your anxieties, your deadlines are rolling off your head and down your shoulders and down your arms and are falling away to the floor. And this week I want to invite you to imagine a door in front of you. And this door is slightly open. And you see that there is a light shining on the other side. And you feel an excitement about discovering what is on the other side, even though you can't see it right now. You can't see what it is. You get the feeling that going there will open your world. And just then you get a text. It's God with a word of encouragement. What does it say? Take a moment to imagine what God is texting to you right now. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be whole sentences. Hopefully you keep that word with you this week, your text from God. There's also information in the bulletin if you are interested in coming to Israel and Palestine and Jordan in the new year with me and with my husband and Reverend Graham Brownmiller from Jubilee United. So take a look at that if you're interested in coming to see where it all began. And we are inviting you to take a risk and invite someone to come to the Art Wall session on Tuesday evening, or to come to church on Sunday, or to come to the Labyrinth Walk happening in August, or to come to any one of our events. Take a risk, invite somebody, see what happens. Just tell them, come and see. May you see the unfolding of each day as an opportunity to take risks, to be a co-creator with God. As a Jesus follower, may you feel his company leading you toward creating more kindness, more justice, and more mercy in the world. May you know the nudge of the creative spirit deep within, making belief in all you are and all you do. Go in peace. Amen.